Hey, this is Joshua with The Sojourn. Let me ask you a question. How do you handle things when you become aware of a character flaw in your life? You're unkind, you're impatient, you lash out in anger. How do you handle that? Chances are probably not doing too well. Let me tell you a story from last night. So my 2-year-old, he's up multiple times in the night, just not sleeping well. And about the third time that I'm up with him, I'm tired, but I pick him up and I'm rocking him, and I can just hear his breathing. He's congested and it's keeping him from sleeping well. So I lay him down on his back and I flip on the light, and I'm going to put some saline drops in his nose and suction out the mucus to help him breathe better. And in his sleepiness and stupor, he's moving his head and he's batting my hands away. And he just wants nothing to do with it, me putting stuff in his nose. He's upset. And I get upset about it. And what do? Well, I take the saline bottle and I slam it down on the counter. And I lay him back in his crib. And I flip off the light. And I go storming off. And I begin to immediately justify myself in my mind, right? Like, hey, I've been patient. I've been getting up multiple times in the night with him, right? I'm giving him all this, but it's him. Oh, he's the one who's being impatient. And what's more is I'm trying to help him out, and he's not even taking the help. And I begin to justify that anger and impatience I had. And I'm quickly reminded of an illustration that C.S. Lewis gives in his book, Mere Christianity. There's a part where he's talking about rats in the cellar or in the basement. And his point is this. He says, if you have rats in your cellar, chances are you're not going to find those rats by walking down the stairs noisily, banging pans and making noise and then flipping on the light. You probably won't see them because they've had a chance to hide. But if you sneak up real quietly and flip on the light suddenly, then yeah, you might see some rats in your basement. And he says that suddenness isn't what created the rats, right? They were already there. It was just the suddenness. Well, we tell ourselves in our lives that sometimes we react a certain way because of the suddenness. Well, last night I slammed down that bottle and stormed off because I was tired, or my son was batting me away, and so that's why I reacted that way. And I tell myself, well, that's not really me. No, it is, right? Like, that ugliness is there. Those rats are in my heart. They're in my cellar, and I need to deal with them. And too often we deal with it either by ignoring the issue and saying that's not really us, or on the other hand, we go in the other direction, right? And we tell ourselves, oh, I am just a terrible, awful person. And we look at it and we magnify it and we just see that gross part of our character, and we give it more power than we have to. And we say, this is awful, this is who I am, and it festers, and now we're self-loathing, and it leads us to despair and depression. Is there an alternative? Yes. Here's a better perspective. Philippians chapter 2, the author tells us, says, work out your salvation with fear and trembling, for it is the Lord who's at work within you to will and to do according to his good purpose. So you see, there's this process of sanctification in our lives. And there's this invitation from God for us to join him in his work of changing our hearts. So when you become confronted with your character flaws and your moral failings, don't ignore it. Don't bury your head in the sand and say, well, that's not really me. And on the other hand, don't linger on it. Don't let it fester and just lead you to self-loathing. Rather, see it as an invitation from God to partner with him. What hope that brings, right? That when you see discouraging things in your life, you can choose to join with God and not beat yourself up. You see, God did not lose his kindness just because you discovered your weakness. Just because you became aware of how bad you're behaving in a certain way doesn't mean that he's now given up his kindness. No, the Bible tells us that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. So that's my invitation to you. I encourage you, see those failings and those flaws and those moments as invitation to partner with God to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. He's a good God. This is Joshua for The Sojourn. Have a great day.